Welcome. Today we're going to discuss how to solve an absolute value equation. So first let's define what an absolute value is. So an absolute value is the distance a number is from zero. So we say, how do we denote that mathematically? So we have this notation here where you put these two bars, so we see this bar here and this bar here. We put that around the A to denote absolute value of A. So when solving an absolute value equation, as with any other equation, what we want to do is to find the value or values that make the equation true. So now, let's consider the equation, the absolute value of n equals 4. So you see I've written this out in words, the absolute value of n equals 4, but symbolically we write the absolute value of n equals 4. So we use these symbols here, the absolute value of n equals 4. So that means what values or values are 4 units away from 0. So let's consider the number line. So we look at this number line, we say, okay, we have our 0 here. This is our 0, right? We have 0. Now what do we want to do? We want to find, okay, 4 units away. So we go 4 units away. So positive 4. And then if we go the other direction, 4 units away, we're at negative 4. So the absolute value of n equals 4 when n equals 4 or n equals a negative 4. So we're trying to find the values of n that satisfy this equation. And that's at 4 or negative 4 because 4 and negative 4 are both 4 units away from 0. Consider the equation, the absolute value of n plus 5 equals 4. Symbolically, we will write here, n plus 5 in the absolute values is equal to 4. So we say, what is 4 units away from 0? If we recall, what's 4 units away from 0 would be, namely, 4 and a negative 4. So these are two values that are 4 units away from 0. So our distance is 4. So we say that's at 4, negative 4. So the n plus 5 must be equal to 4, because that's what's 4 units away from 0, or a negative 4. So the n plus 5 equals 4, or the n plus 5 equals a negative 4. So we say 5 more than a number is 4. What would be the number? So in order to find this number, if we're 5 more than it, what we do is we say, do the inverse operation, and we subtract 5 from both sides. And now we would get n is equal to a negative 1, since 4 minus 5 is a negative 1. Or 5 more than a number is a negative 4. In order to get back to this number, we subtract 5 from both sides. And we say n is equal to a negative 9. So in this case, we have two solutions. So the absolute value of a number plus 5 equals 4. What are the numbers? So in this case, we have n equals a negative 1 or a negative 9. And this will be our two solutions. For our next example, we consider the equation, the absolute value of 2 more than triple a number equals 4. Symbolically, we write the 2 bars to represent the absolute value. And we put the 3n plus 2 in the middle equals 6. So we say, what is 6 units away from 0? Oh, that would be 6 or a negative 6. Thus, we write what's inside the absolute value must have a distance that's 6 units away from 0. So it's either at 6 or the 3n plus 2 has to equal negative 6. So we say 2 more than triple a number is 6. In order to get back to the number, we first say, okay, 2 more. Okay, let's subtract 2 from both sides. we get 3n equals 4. So 3n equals 4. Now triple a number is 4. So the inverse of tripling is to divide it by 3. So we divide both sides by 3. So n would equal 4/3. Or we say 2 more than triple a number is a -6. So getting back to the number, we subtract 2. Triple a number is a -8. In order to find this number, the inverse of tripling is to divide into 3 parts. And we have n equals a -8/3. So I'm going to put my or here. Thus, in this case, n equals 4/3 or n equals a -8/3. Now in this problem we have the absolute value of n equals a -6. So recall the absolute value is what? The distance a value is from 0. So our distance by nature is always positive. We don't consider the direction, only the distance. So in that case, the absolute value can never equal a negative number. So the absolute value of n cannot equal a -6. Thus, in this case, there is no solution because the absolute value cannot equal a negative number. So let's consider this next example. Will this one have a solution? The absolute value of 1 less than a number, n, is a -6. So we still have this absolute value here, right? And the absolute value is equal to a negative number. In this case, it will still be no solution. Consider this last example. We have the absolute value of n minus 1 minus 10 is equal to a -6. So in this case, you say, oh, it equals a negative number. But before we can check to see if there's no solution, we must first solve for the absolute value. So we start that by, let's say let's add 10 to both sides. So now we have the absolute value of n minus 1 equals 4. And the absolute value can't equal a positive 4. So what we do is just, okay, what has a distance that's 4 units away from 0? Namely 4 or a -4. Thus, n minus 1 has to equal 4, or n minus 1 has to equal a -4. So what we want to do now is to solve both of these. So if we're 1 less than a number, so we're 1 less than a number, in order to get back to the number, we add 1. Well, if we add 1 to one side of the equation, we must add 1 to the other. Now we have n equals 5. And once again, we're 1 less than a number. So in order to get back to the number, we add 1. And n will equal a -3. So in this case, n will equal 5, or n would equal a -3. And this ends our lesson for today. Contact me if you have more questions. Thank you.